Good Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Alicia Lewis. This morning, we're waiting to hear from several high-ranking White House officials in Minneapolis. They're announcing a, quote, major law enforcement action that involves fraud. Audrey Russo is at the federal courthouse with details.
Good morning. We're expecting this press conference to get underway at 11 a.m. at the courthouse behind me. Among the speakers we're expecting to hear from, Acting U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Medicaid Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz. And we're expecting them to make some sort of announcement on what they call is a major law enforcement action surrounding fraud. This all comes 24 hours after these new charges were unsealed against a Minnesota daycare owner. Fahima Mahmood is accused of falsely certifying information on reimbursement claims in order to receive $4.6 million from the Child Care Assistance Program. Now, she was arrested in February, the same day she allegedly booked a flight out of the country. Now, Mahmood is also charged in the Feeding Our Future case, where court documents say she received $850,000 in federal funds. And these court documents were filed as a criminal information rather than a grand jury indictment, which indicates that she is cooperating with prosecutors and is likely to plead guilty. Back to you.
And just before that fraud announcement, the mastermind behind the Feeding Our Future fraud scheme will be sentenced. Earlier this week, we learned that prosecutors will ask for 50 years in prison for Amy Bach. She was found guilty last year of coming up with the plan that resulted in fraudsters stealing $250 million meant to feed kids during the pandemic. Developing today, the Minneapolis City Council will vote on a moratorium or pause on new data centers in downtown. City Council member Elizabeth Schaefer also planning to introduce a change in zoning code regulating the planning of urban data centers. There's already several data centers operating in downtown. Breaking overnight, the largest wildfire burning in northern Minnesota is now fully contained. Crews have been battling the Flanders fire in the Brainerd Lakes area since the weekend. It's burned more than 1,700 acres, about 3 square miles. The DNR is still investigating how it started, but they have identified people of interest. 30 years after Cuban fighter pilots shot down 2 civilian planes and killed 4 Cuban Americans, the United States Justice Department has now indicted former Cuban President Raul Castro for his role in an indictment that reshaped and hardened U.S.-Cuba relations. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest.
Hi there. This indictment is 30 years in the making, especially for the families who've held out hope for justice. But it leaves open major questions about what's next for Raul Castro and for Cuba. In a long-awaited step toward accountability, the Justice Department indicting former Cuban President Raul Castro in the 1996 shoot-down of 2 civilian planes that killed 4 Cuban Americans, including Miriam de la Peña's son.
My son was a law-abiding American who loved freedom.
The news, deeply personal to some, celebrated by Cuban Americans in Miami, where Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche made the announcement.
The United States and President Trump does not and will not forget its citizens.
An American grand jury indicting Raul, now 94, and the younger brother of Fidel Castro for conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals, destroying American civilian aircraft, and premeditated murder. Prosecutors say he ordered Cuban fighter pilots who were also indicted to shoot down the planes from the Cuban-American exile group Brothers to the Rescue that helped others trying to flee to freedom. Cuba says the planes violated its airspace. The U.S. says they were humanitarians over international waters.
Our son is not coming back. It could be 50 years, and the criminal is still there. He needs to be put in jail.
Castro is still powerful in Cuba's communist government that called the new indictment lies. NBC's Tom Yamas asked whether he will stand trial in the U.S.
There's a lot of ways that we can get them, and I certainly hope that any defendant that's indicted in this country stands trial.
The Trump administration has been raising the pressure on Cuba's regime, but President Trump now says
there won't be escalation. I don't think there needs to be.
As families wait for what's next. Given how unlikely it is that Cuba would voluntarily extradite Raul Castro, this moment is drawing comparisons to the U.S. military operation to arrest Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro. Blanche said the DOJ expects Castro to show up by his own will or by another way, though again, President Trump is downplaying escalation. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Well, in just a few hours, a Twin Cities school district will be back in class after a suspected cyber attack shut down campus Wednesday. Delano Public School District leaders say that thousands of pages with the word ransomware written across the top were printed across the district early Tuesday morning. Superintendent Matt Shane says that systems automatically detected the potential hack and shut off the internet, limiting the access of what could have happened. Shane says that it's a frustrating situation for them, but one that's becoming more common.
There's a lot of time. Our IT staff, our folks in leadership positions that are spending more and more time having to discuss things other than what's going on in classrooms in the teaching and learning business. So it's an unfortunate distraction.
The superintendent says they'll be sharing their experience with other districts nearby. Right now, work is happening to ensure the funding allocated to Save HCMC is being used effectively. Governor Walz visited the hospital yesterday and praised the bipartisan effort to get a deal done. The hospital will receive $205 million this year and will have access to a reserve fund of $500 million through 2031. HCMC leaders say there are guardrails in place to make sure the money is being spent appropriately.
There are a number of provisions in the legislation tied to the finances that contain some reporting requirements, so there will be a lot of transparency in how the funds are being used and what progress is being made to stabilize Hennepin County Medical Center for the long run.
Hospital leaders say their role as a training and research institute is not changing, but in the future they might have to allow other healthcare systems to take on things that they've done for years. Memorial Day marks the beginning of the 100 deadliest days on the road, and that's why Minnesota law enforcement agencies are kicking off a statewide summer enforcement campaign today. Now through Labor Day, they're going to be focusing on the big four behaviors that contribute to the most crashes. That's distracted driving, no seatbelts, speeding, and driving while impaired. This comes as a record 45 million people are expected to travel for the holiday. Nearly 40 million of those travelers expected to hit the road despite high gas prices. AAA releasing these numbers in the last few hours, showing the national average right now is $4.56 a gallon. Here in Minnesota, the average is 18 cents cheaper at $4.38. Well, millions of people are also expected to fly this weekend. Things at MSP Airport seem to be going pretty smooth right now. Their website shows there's 7 canceled arrivals and 1 canceled departure. So far, we're not seeing any delays. Well, if you're in the mood for a Pronto Pup or corn dog, you're in luck. The kickoff to summer at the fair starts today. The event runs through the weekend, and this year there's more food vendors, and they've also added shows and crop art. Attendance is limited each day, so they do say you should buy your tickets in advance, and that'll also save you $3. Pretty good. Taking a look now at the Minneapolis skyline. A little cold this morning, but the official start of summer is exactly 1 month away, and this year the city will be busy. We just got a lineup filled with festivals, concerts, sporting events, community celebrations, all for downtown. Our Sammy Selena has a preview.
Downtown Minneapolis, get ready. Leaders just announced a whole jam-packed lineup of events this summer, and I'm going to read them back to you as fast as possible because there's a lot. June 1st through the 6th, Beyond Walls art installation, the first time a U.S. city is able to host this global art project. The Park Board Summer Kickoff at the Commons, that's June 3rd. Prince celebration, the 10th anniversary of his death, that's June 3rd through the 7th. There's going to be a huge block party, a week-long party. The big honking truck parade is June 18th. It's exactly what it sounds like, a big honking truck parade. FIFA World Cup watch parties, that's happening now until July 27th. Twin Cities Pride, of course, in Loring Park, June 26th to the 28th. July 4th celebration at the riverfront. I think we all know when that is. Float Fest, July 26th, kayaking and canoeing down the Mississippi River, and it's a festival, kind of cool. Lucha Libre Wrestling and Movie Night at the Commons, July 29th, WWE SummerSlam at US Bank Stadium, that's August 1st through the 2nd. It features Minnesota native Tiffany Stratton, who is the current US Women's Champion. And pickleball on the Parkway for you pickleballers. I just got into it September 12th. 30 pickleball courts along the West River Road. And I think I have just about covered everything that they said at the press conference today. Basically, they're raising awareness of all of these events because downtown has had a particularly difficult time because of Operation Metro Surge.
Good job, Sammy. Well, radio legend at KDWB is about to sign off. Dave Ryan announced last week that after 33 years, he's going to retire with his last show tomorrow. Right now, though, he is at Mall of America for a special on-air farewell celebration with the public. The morning show broadcast is featuring friends and former show members. Fans can swing by to watch and even get some Cinnabon and T-Rex cookies. The broadcast goes until 10 o'clock this morning. Stick with us, more news and weather coming up after the break.